Hey everybody, it's Jeff here from I'll Be in the Garage. I got a project I'm working on here, trying to complete soon. This is a purchase I made at the Shaw Festival's annual garage sale. The way I bought it, it doesn't really represent an accurate version of a Royal Navy uniform, and it's also pre-1812, which means the bottom of the coat here was more like that, more straight down. What I'm attempting to do here is convert it to one that looks more like a uniform that was issued to the Royal Navy in 1812, because I want to do Regency recreations. So in addition to opening this up here in the front, sewing that back like that, I'm going to be adding white facings to the front. This is just a piece of cardboard to get the pattern right, because in 1812 they had the white facings, they brought them back. And I'm going to be adding these long buttonholes that went on the front here on this pattern, and there was 9 buttons that went down the front. Here's a picture of what the uniform that I want to make would look like. And this is a cotton canvas that I'm going to be using to make the facings. I know technically at that time the officers would have probably been able to afford nice wool, but I don't really want to go out and try to find light colored wool. The problem with wool too is it's never white, it's always like a cream color, even though that's probably more authentic. I'm going to use this white canvas. Well, this was kind of a tan color when I got it. I bleached it out to white. I'm going to use it because it'll match the trousers, the breeches that I'm making as well. I just cut that piece out very quickly with my pinking shears just to get an idea of how it's going to look. I think it's a little tiny bit wide, but that's okay. This has to be made a little longer on this side so it can tuck around the corner here when I sew it in. Okay, using my pattern, I did actually add some iron-on interfacing on the back of this because it'll just give it some extra stiffness. And now what I'm going to do is get my blue fabric, sew it back to back, turn it inside out at the bottom, and we'll clip it along the seam allowances, and then we'll try it out on the jacket to see if it works. I cut the seam allowance to 1/4 of an inch along that seam I just sewed. I turned it inside out. Now I'll tuck the blue behind there. I'm gonna press it out, and then we're gonna try it on the uniform. That's just laying on there in place, but I think it looks pretty good. Next thing I have to figure out is the distribution of the buttons on this. I used a little bit of this kind of hemming iron-on tape just to hold the gold trim in place here for a bit, because I can't pin through like all these layers. This stuff's really hard to pin through. In retrospect, I should have folded the blue around the corner here so you don't see that white showing there, but I don't think it's a big deal. From the front, you're not really gonna notice it. And if I have to, I can go over it with a marker or something just to darken that area. All right, I sewed that gold facing on there. I'm very happy with the way that's looking. This is not sewed in properly yet, but now I have to work on the buttonholes, the slashes here. So I gotta space these out evenly, and I'm gonna be sewing white cord in strips like this to make it look like the edge of the buttonholes, and then the buttons go right here near the edge. So I calculated it out. The buttons should be spaced, if there's 9 of them, they should be spaced every 2 inches. And what I'm gonna do to kind of elaborate on this idea of these buttonholes is I'm gonna get this white cording here, and I'm gonna sew it down like that in lines. Just gonna sew it down there, and then I'm not gonna slash through the middle. Normally I'm gonna put it tight like that. Normally that would be slashed and it would be a real buttonhole, but there's no reason to do that. So I'm gonna start making these little loops of cord and sewing them on there after I mark it out.